States.
Well, joining us now is Husam Zomlot. He's the Palestinian High Commissioner to the UK. And the news that we've had this morning, Husam Zomlot, that Norway, Ireland, Spain have now recognised Palestine, the first, I think, EU member states who have done that whilst being member states. What does this say to you?
It says that we have historic momentum, that certain countries and leaders in Europe have shown leadership and statesmanship to really provide all of us a different path forward out of this carnage, out of this darkness. They provided light today, that there is hope, that there is tomorrow, that they are committing to international legality and international legitimacy, and they are not giving anybody a gift or a favor. The Irish Prime Minister was rather very clear. This is an inalienable right of the Palestinian people. This is a recognition of their distinct national identity and their peoplehood and nationhood, and this is long overdue. However, to come at this point in time, give millions of people, including people in Europe and worldwide, hope for a different future. So this is historic, and not only it's a historic day, it's a historic week, because it followed from the ICC Prosecutor General only 2 days ago, taking a first step towards holding Israel accountable to its many war crimes over many decades.
Yeah, I want to come on to the ICC in a moment, but just on this question of the recognition of a Palestinian statehood, you've known this was coming from those three countries. Presumably you have also been having conversations with the UK government. What response are you getting there?
Still the same. We have heard something rather new a couple of months ago from Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron, who did announce that Britain is considering recognizing the state of Palestine before a final agreement has been reached. And that statement did break a taboo and established a new logic that the UK would recognize as a contribution to a peace process, not an outcome of it. And therefore, Lord Cameron removed the Israeli veto over Palestinian statehood, which the UK should have done long time ago. It's long overdue.
But the UK is not going to join Norway and Ireland and Spain in this same state of recognition, right? I mean, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, however, the UK is lagging behind. It has been lagging behind on this issue for a long time. We have given the UK many opportunities, including recently at the UN, in the Security Council and in the General Assembly. And regrettably, the UK has so far picked the wrong choice.
What's your message now to the UK government on this?
It's their time, given the historic responsibility of the United Kingdom, given the Balfour Declaration 107 years ago, that colonial arrogance moment that has contributed to the suffering of my people for over a century. And given the role of the UK as a founder of the rules-based international order, given the history and given the role the UK could play, the best relationship, the closest to Washington, to Brussels, to the region and worldwide, I think the UK is absolutely expected to play a leadership role and to show everybody that when they say two states, they mean it. This is not lip service. This is not double face. This is real. And this is the moment to give the people of Palestine hope, to give Israel a very clear message that business is business, we mean it, we are doing the work. And should the UK lag behind, it would be a very bad message at a very bad moment.
Except you can see the response that we've had already this morning. Senior Hamas leaders are welcoming the decisions, and Israel's foreign minister has said that Ireland and Norway are sending a message today that terrorism pays, that what happened on October the 7th has led to this moment, and the message that it sends internationally is that terrorism pays.
That's the very wrong question, Emily, and I really refuse it wholeheartedly. This process of recognition has been brewing for years, with the same countries and with other countries. It should have happened long ago, at least in 1999, 5 years after the signing of the Oslo Accords. The European countries, the US, were committing to recognize the state of Palestine as early as 1999. They have lagged behind, and they have, by hesitating to take the right decision, they have led us to where we are today, to this carnage and madness, mass murder, mass destruction. And therefore, this has nothing to do with only the last 7 months. This has to do with a 100-year-old process that the international community did not really invest the right political capital. Today, we see countries like Ireland, Spain, and of course, Norway investing in the future, and therefore let us not just focus on Israeli talking points. This is about the people of Palestine, and this is about their absolute inalienable right to self-determination. And this is not the business of Netanyahu or the business of any country for that matter. Every country that has not done so is in the red.
Yeah, Netanyahu is making it his business nonetheless. Israel has ordered its ambassadors back from all three countries. Do you recognise by that essentially diplomatic relationships will end with Israel for those three countries or any other countries that then recognise the Palestinian state?
That's the business of these countries. But all these countries who have been saying for all these decades that they support a two-state solution and they haven't recognized the two states, they didn't really mean it. Now, these countries who have done so today are among the countries who really mean two-state solution. And therefore, if this is their policy to create a state of Palestine on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital and to resolve the issue of refugees in accordance with international law, if this is the policy, then it is Netanyahu that needs to be isolated and punished. If Israel does not accept the international consensus, then there will have to be consequences. It should not be Dublin or Oslo or Madrid, for that matter, to be diplomatically punished by Netanyahu. It should be Netanyahu that should feel the consequences of his rejection of the international consensus and of his rejection of the very idea of people's righteous demand for self-determination and statehood and sovereignty. And therefore, this business has gone on for a long time, Emily, to let Israel have a veto power over something that has to do with our natural birth rights. Today, these countries are saying no longer Israel has the leverage or the right to say no or to have a veto power over the Palestinian people right to self-determination. That's the key message. And this is long overdue.
I promised that we would talk about the International Criminal Court. The Prosecutor General submitted an application and the ICC now has 3 months to consider its outcome. Do you understand that the UK government will abide by what the ICC has said this week? What is your understanding of that?
It must. I mean, the UK is a founding member of the international judicial system, the ICJ and the ICC. The UK prides itself with being a founding member of the whole international system after the horrors of the Second World War. The first General Assembly of the United Nations was convened here in London, not anywhere else. The first UN Secretary General was British. And therefore, if you pride yourself with being a founding member, you have got to stick by the rules. And the rules are very simple and straightforward. The independence of the global courts, especially the ICC and the ICJ, you do not meddle or interfere in their business. And we expect the UK to come out clearly saying that we respect the independence of these courts.
And you haven't heard that yet?
No. We have heard some rather counterproductive, unhelpful statements from some very senior UK politicians.
Salman Rushdie has said if there was a Palestinian state, it would be run by Hamas, and that would make it a Taliban-like state, a client state of Iran. He is not alone in his fears that this would be a gift right now to Hamas.
I don't know who's Salman Rushdie and one. He's meddling in our affairs. Palestine is governed by the people of Palestine. They have national institutions that are legitimate, recognized by the world. The Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, represents the Palestinians everywhere, inside and outside. We have just formed a new government, and the state of Palestine is recognized by the absolute vast majority of the world, except very few countries, including the US and the UK. And today you've heard from 3 countries, European countries. Tomorrow you will hear from much more, whoever left, that did not recognize the state of Palestine. The state of Palestine belongs to the people of Palestine, and the people of Palestine have their legitimate representation.
And I understand that as a theory, as an ideology, but I'm just asking, I guess, whether it chimes with your own fears now that a Palestinian state would embody Hamas at this point. Does that worry you?
It doesn't. It embodies peace. This is about our rights, and these rights should have been fulfilled long before Hamas was created. Hamas has not created this conflict. Hamas is an outcome of this conflict and all other political factions. What we need is to resolve this in accordance with the Palestinian people's rights, legitimate rights, birth rights. So let's not conflate and confuse the conversation. This isn't about Hamas or any other political faction. This is about a people. A people struggle for 100 years. This is about rights, the right to self-determination, the right to return to your properties and homes and farms and businesses, the right to live equal under the law and the right to justice and accountability. This isn't about factions.
Husam Zomlot, thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.